The largest movie franchise in the whole world has returned to trading card games. But is it any good? Well, you've already clicked on this video, which says it is, and it's great. But what makes it so great? Let's discuss. What is it about its particular combination of theme, gameplay, and nostalgia that make it so special? Will Fantasy Flight keep up the support for this game? Or will they break our hearts again? Here's our list of 5 reasons why you should care about Star Wars Unlimited. Alright, let's see what I got in this booster. C3PO, R2D2, X-Wings. Oh, Luke's lightsaber. I really wanted this card. Fleet Lieutenant, cool. Oh my god. I got the showcase variant of Darth Vader. Oh my god, yes, I was after this particular card.
This is not the card you are looking for.
Yes, it is. No, I just said that's the card I was looking for.
This is not the card you are looking for.
It is the card that I'm looking for, though.
This is not the card you...
Can I have my card back?
Stupid force powers never work.
What is it with this robe you're wearing?
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey, didn't see you there. You know, one of the hardest things for any TCG is to immerse you into a world where your imagination takes over and makes you feel like you're actually there. Some of the most immersive games I've played from Fantasy Flight are games like Star Wars Rebellion, a 2-player board game all about hide and seek and area control, or Imperial Assault, and a very expansive dungeon crawler. Well-executed theme relies on well-designed mechanics that simulates the feeling of the action you are taking. But does it matter in card games, where the goal is just to win? All you need is strategy, timing, and the right cards in your hand to pull off that crazy combo, right? This is where Star Wars Unlimited shines. It combines the setting, environment, and lore to either recreate or remaster the story into something totally new. Maybe Darth Vader tells C3PO that he is their father, or a cell block guard acquires Darth Vader's lightsaber and then defeats Luke to become our big epic villain in this story we're creating. I had a game where R2D2, not exactly known for his fighting prowess, poked Darth Vader to provide the final blow, opening the gates to the base, allowing all my other units to destroy it. My hero. Yes, you are. It was a good boy. Yeah, you're a good boy. Unlimited also adapts its theme really well with its 2-lane system, where you're attacking from above and below. Here, there are 2 battles happening side by side, one on the ground and another in space, which you have to manage both sides of. With TIE fighters battling X-Wings in space, and on the ground you have stormtroopers and rebel forces fighting one another. This adapts to the theme of a Star Wars battle really well. It may not be the first game to do it. I can think of a couple of digital card games, Elder Scrolls, and a couple of other games as well. But Unlimited contextualizes it way better than the rest, once again merging its mechanics with its lore. Art is always subjective, but with original art on all the cards, it really gives me that kind of Marvel Comics, Dark Horse Comics, Star Wars from kind of the early 2000s when I was a lot younger, adding to that nostalgia factor. Aesthetically, it pleases me. Less so with the layout of the cards itself. I would prefer a cleaner look, something less distracting. Oh, and definitely look out for the hyperspace cards and the alt art cards. They look absolutely amazing. I grew up on this franchise from the comic books, the films, all the games, And after spending some time with Unlimited, it is the most excited I've been for the franchise in recent years. I can't read. The game is really simple, especially if you played any of the card games. Mechanically, for me, this game is like the best of TCGs all rolled into one, and it does some very interesting things as well. To win, destroy your opponent's base by reducing its health from 30 to 0. The base destruction is basically like attacking face in Magic. It's really cool to have a physical representation on the field of what you're actually trying to attack. As we started playing, this small little thing gave me purpose. Maybe Magic could do with the face card. Similar to Magic or Dragon Ball Super, the card game, you have a leader that sits in its slot. But this leader also has its own ability, which you can activate throughout the game. And if you meet the leader's requirements, it allows you to activate its epic action. Very similar to one of my other favorite TCGs, Dragon Ball, where you have the Awaken ability on the card. But unlike Dragon Ball, your leader, when he awakens, comes onto the battlefield and becomes another one of your units. And if it's destroyed, it returns to its leader slot, never to return back onto the field, as it is a once per game action. If Luke dies, he's dead. Damage in combat is also permanent, similar to say Pokemon or Lacana. If it takes a hit, you put a counter on top of the card to indicate the amount of damage it's taken, and it will stay there until it either heals or dies. And the resource management is also very similar to Lacana, where you choose a card, flip it over, place it into its resource zone. So no issues of not having resources to pay for cards you really want to play, like being landlocked or mana flooded in Magic. I take an action, you take an action, and we both keep alternating as such until eventually both players pass, and then we reset and go again. This is absolutely brilliant. You're always involved in this game from start to finish with this constant back and forth, retaliating and countering, trying to take the lead and get your opponent on their back foot. Another element I really enjoyed was the initiative token. It's quite commonplace in board games taking an action to take the initiative token, therefore ensuring that you're the first player on the next turn. And for TCGs, it adds a whole another element of decision making. A well-timed pinch can either win or lose you the game. So our last game I was playing with Fez and we're chipping away at each other, and I just realized if he keeps chipping away at me like this, I'm gonna die. But neither of us were gonna win in that turn. That's when it hit me. So I went for the initiative token and I ensured that I had the kill shot on the next turn. And had I not taken it, Fez would have beat me. And the rest, as they say, is history. And finally, the rulebook in the starter kit is a great addition. It's something that's often lacking in TCGs and just gives it that more board game-esque vibe. Unlimited also supports a multiplayer format, which is something I do need to explore more as time goes on. The style of the game as it is, I feel would actually work well as this multiplayer, non-competitive, social kind of 3 to 4 player game, and with added politics. I mean, who doesn't like a little bit of politics in their trading card games?
I don't.
Sealed and limited formats are probably my favorite when it comes to trading card games, especially Magic. Drafting, to me, really shows what a player's skill level is through the understanding of cards, synergy, timing, and value. It also eliminates that how deep are your pockets issue with a lot of trading card games, and it creates the kind of competitive environment I fell in love with. I've yet to do a draft with Unlimited, but I have played the sealed format as a pre-release. And in that pre-release, I really could appreciate the design of this first set. There are definitely some leaders that are more powerful than others, but generally speaking, it is an incredibly well-balanced game. Even compared to some of the more modern sets from Magic, which have been really hit and miss. Crimson Vow I didn't like for drafting. Call of Mana I wasn't a huge fan of for drafting. Dominaria United though, that was absolutely amazing. When deck building, there is a color pie type of system similar to Magic, but here they represent something a bit different. It's the aspects that you are kind of embodying of each of your leaders, and that's what the decks are built around. There are 6 colors basically to choose from, but it is very much determined by the leader card and by the base card. You can only have one leader and you can only have one base, but the colors on these cards will dictate which colors you can then use in your deck. If you get the opportunity to, definitely go down to your favorite game store and try getting into some of these events. It is so much fun, and I definitely will be doing so in the future at Gathering Games.
Star Wars Unlimited has a whole host of rarities and cards. It's got commons, uncommons, rares, and then the legendary cards. Of course, you can get foil versions of all of these cards, and there's the cool hyperspace cards, but the really special cards are the showcase cards. These are beautiful full art variants of some of the leader cards in the set. You only find them in 1 in every 12 booster boxes, but they look sweet. When I looked on Card Market for Spark of Rebellion, I found 64 cards with a value of over £5, 37 cards with a value of more than £10, 20 cards worth more than £50, and 17 cards worth more than £100. The current most expensive card in the set is Boba Fett, the showcase variant of it, currently sitting at £273 on Card Market. Magic standard sets can't even come close to this kind of value unless you start cracking collector booster packs. And even the reprint master sets are struggling to match this kind of value. I mean, if Magic tried to pack this much value into one of their sets, they'd probably end up charging you like 500 quid a booster box.
Yeah, definitely. How much are the booster boxes?
Just a little under 90 quid at the moment. Now, in reality, talking about single card prices isn't always the best measure of value. You could totally crack up on one of these booster boxes and get absolutely zero value. So that's why the estimated value is usually a more useful measure. The estimated value is a prediction of how much value you probably get when you crack the booster box. But at the time of filming this, I couldn't really find any data on it. So all I can really comment on is what my local customers have said to me. And of course, one of them came in and bought a booster box and cracked a showcase card and then came back and bought 2 more. So take from it what you will. Now, the single card prices might be quite high right now, but the real question is, are they going to stay high? Take this next part with a pinch of salt, as it's based on some speculation by Rudy from Alpha Investments. Rudy is a distributor for TCGs, so he might get insight that people like me and you probably don't get. And he's come out and stated that Star Wars Unlimited will be a print-to-demand TCG, meaning as long as people want to buy some sealed product, they'll be able to buy sealed product. The more of it available, cracked, and listed on the open market will drive down the price of the sealed product and single cards. For the MTG nerds watching, let's use Modern Horizons 2 as a case study. Modern Horizons 2 was a print-to-demand set. It was widely available for the longest time on the market, and Wizards of the Coast basically tanked the price of fetch lands, which was some of the chase cards in the set. It was a great move for accessibility. It was so easy to get these core pieces into your deck at the cheapest price possible. But damn, the collectors must have been fuming when they saw that their precious fetch lands had dropped from 60 quid to like less than £10. Ouch. I'm somewhat simplifying the economics here, as without doubt there will be other contributing factors towards the price of this, but this could totally happen for the showcase cards in Spark of Rebellion. So, should you be buying Star Wars Unlimited with the intention of holding it and then flipping it later down the line? It's a tough one, to be honest. Print to demand doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be print forever. Now, it will have a fixed print run. It will go out of print at some point, and that will drive scarcity. And scarcity means the prices will go up again. But if Star Wars Unlimited does explode, even a high print run product could hold some serious value. I, for one, will be watching this space very closely. Okay, so we should probably address the elephant in the room.
Who are you calling an elephant?
Fantasy Flight doesn't really have the best track record in maintaining games. Star Wars Destiny was a similar game that launched in 2016 that had similar widespread critical acclaim. And it took off. It had a sizable following behind it. People were excited and hyped for this game. But after 9 set releases, it got dropped by Fantasy Flight. It's not been the easiest thing for me to piece together the reasons behind this, but it does seem that there was ongoing production issues throughout its whole run. Sets were difficult to get hold of, and LGSs were waiting months to get restocks of the product. The other infamous title is Android Netrunner. It's one of my personal favourite dueling card games, designed by legendary designer Richard Garfield, the creator of Magic the Gathering. Netrunner was hugely successful. It had a killer following behind it, and literally at its peak of success, it got dropped by Fantasy Flight. But the reasons behind Netrunner were a bit different. Android Netrunner was a licensed game from Wizards of the Coast, and Wizards of the Coast took their license back from Fantasy Flight. There was a lot of speculation at the time that Netrunner would come back designed by Wizards of the Coast as a TCG, but none of it came to fruition. It's just been lying dormant since. It's hard to blame Fantasy Flight for this, as it was just clearly out of their control. But are they doing what's in their control to make Star Wars Unlimited survive? Considering how available the product is, it seems like it. I suppose only time will tell. At very least, I really hope it does survive.
So, best TCG of 2024?
So I'll be honest with you, I was really uninterested in Star Wars when they first announced it. There was some content creators that got access to it and were doing some previews, and they're just like, yeah, this is like, it's kind of like magic, and the whole sort of reception for it was really sort of like lukewarm at best.
Lukewarm. Luke Skywalker.
Luke Skywalker warm, yeah. I'm really impressed with this. This is actually really good. I'm glad it's awesome. I really think there is space for a Star Wars trading card game.
Yeah, I pretty much felt the same, to be honest with you. I think Star Wars just generally as a whole hasn't really been of that much interest to me. I remember when Destiny came out as well. Prior to Destiny, I had played quite a lot of Dice Masters. You probably remember me having quite a large collection of dice, and then a whole another game with a dice element. It just wasn't something that really intrigued me. So yeah, I mean, I wasn't particularly interested when I had heard the news. I think probably felt the same as those content creators, to be fair.
I was ready to give this a skip. I was sort of slightly tempted to not order this, to not stock it in the shop. They were giving a pretty good deal in like a bundle offer with lots of booster boxes and accessories, and I thought, there's probably not much to lose out. We'll open it up for pre-orders. We'll see how it goes. So that's kind of how I left it. And then all the buzz started coming around launch time. There was more previews. People seemed to be really liking it from the previews. It got us intrigued.
Yeah.
I'm glad we tried this. I'm really glad we stocked this. It's selling so well.
Yeah.
It's really, really awesome. I'm glad it is.
I think R2 agrees with you.
R2 does agree with me. I think that the biggest issue maybe the content creators had was that it's kind of like, is it just another clone of Magic? Which is kind of the question that comes out for any TCG, right? And in all honesty, most of them do feel that way. Most TCGs will always have overlap in Magic. It is just the foundations of this subculture. It has enough fresh ideas and enough flavor to really stand on its own 2 feet, right?
Yeah.
I think this is a TCG that people should definitely care about, and I hope it does survive.
Who would you recommend this game to?
If you're a fan of Star Wars and card games, or if you're just a fan of like board games, you should definitely be considering this. I think there's enough overlap and enough value here that you'd probably be interested and you'd probably enjoy this.
And that £35 for that starter deck retail.
You know what? That starter deck is an absolute steal. It's got so much value packed into it. If you go to like a store like ours where we discount stuff, I think we're selling at like £26 or something on those lines.
Yeah.
2 decks that play so well against each other. You have so much fun. It's just an absolute bargain. The whole product range is like really well priced. They're not charging an arm and a leg for the booster boxes. It's packed full of values, packed full of fun. It's not doing much wrong at the moment, is it? So there's a friend of mine who comes into the shop, and he picked this up before we did, and he was like, Fez, you need to try this. It's got alternating activations. And I was like, what alternating activations? This isn't a miniatures game where you have like, you move one miniature. And I didn't really understand what he said.
Yeah.
I hope we sort of explained that earlier and people sort of understand what we mean by like you do a single action and then the next person does an action. That is like the defining feature of this whole game, I think. Like the fact that it has got alternate activations, like no other TCG is doing that.
Yeah.
There's nothing quite like that. It's a really unique take on it. So Sal, I suppose it's time for the big question. Is this the best TCG of 2024?
Best new TCG of 2024, 100%. Best TCG of current supported TCGs of 2024. I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but at the same time, it is definitely in my top 5. If we did that top 5 TCG video, which we got absolutely slated because apparently we missed out One Piece. I do apologize. It is actually a great game.
It's a great game. Just for the record, One Piece is great.
Yeah.
We just can't get a hold of it.
Yeah, that's the only thing that's really stopped us from playing it, especially where we are in the UK. It is such a hard game to get a hold of. We've only really played the starter decks, and we just didn't feel like that's enough for us to go.
Yeah, I can't just make judgments off of that. I've enjoyed what I've played. I can't make content about it just yet.
Yeah. But if I had played this game before we'd made that video, Lorcana would not be on that list. This game would be on that list.
I think Lorcana was my least favorite of the top 5 that we talked about. And immediately, just the theme is way more engaging. I think the system's cooler, it's more unique, more flavorful, more competitive.
Yeah.
Like all the things that I really like about TCGs. So
What about you? Is it your best TCG of 2024?
yeah, I suppose I've come out on the record now and said that my favorite TCG is Flesh and Blood. It's had a strong year so far. Probably our best-selling TCG of this year so far, or like TCG set has been Heavy Hitters. But I'm still more excited about Flesh and Blood and Heavy Hitters and sitting down and drafting that and playing that. So I suppose the answer is no. I don't think it's the best TCG of 2024. It's hard to make a judgment off of a TCG off of one set. So I suppose we're somewhat silly trying to answer that question when you understand the whole space a little bit deeper than what people do on the surface level. I think this is off to a really impressive start.
I guess the real question is, will this still be the best new TCG of 2024 by the end of the year?
and beyond.
Are there any new TCGs out this year?
I don't know. If there aren't, then it will.
You must subscribe. Subscribe. Like and subscribe. Don't forget to share. You haven't subscribed yet. Why are you not clicking? Subscribe, I said. Are my force powers working? Go on, subscribe, please.